So where does narcissism come from then?
Mhm.
This is one of the big
Mhm.
questions. From what you said there, I assume there might be a genetic component that's brought out by our childhood or
So we're all born with a temperament, right? I don't know if you're an only child, if you have siblings or anything like
youngest
that.
of four.
You're youngest of four. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is harder for you. So it'd be interesting for you to talk with them. Is that, and your parent, whoever was parents, whoever were around, every one of you, you and your siblings, had slightly different personalities from the day you were born. And that rolled out in early childhood. So you'll see that one kid who's just easy breezy from the day they're born. You'll sometimes see that kid who's just a clenched up ball of nerves from the day they're born. You'll see that kid who just doesn't want to chill for a minute from the day they're born. That stuff is called temperament. And what we know about temperament is that there are certain temperaments and those that make a child more biologically vulnerable, a little bit more difficult to soothe. They may be more, they just sort of need more, right? So they're more of a demand on a caregiver. That with that more vulnerable temperament, if that comes up against an environment that's at all invalidating, trauma, neglect, other adversities, chaos, domestic violence, substance use in the family, or even emotional abuse, where the child is just being told, "Stop, sit down, shut up. Why can't you be like your sisters?" Right? That combination can actually set up a real risk for developing narcissism. So that's pathway one. But pathway two, and this is actually coming out of really interesting work by a guy named Eddie Brommelmans from the University of Amsterdam. It's fascinating work. And he is studying more sort of what's the other pathway? Well, the other pathway, and other folks like Masterson and others have written about this, which is the overvalued child. These are the children who are told, you're more special than any other child. Not that you're special, but you are more special than him and her. So you shouldn't have to wait in a line. You're more special. You should get the teacher you want. You should get everything you want. Those children often, they don't learn to self-soothe. They often aren't as well regulated. They actually kind of believe the hype that the parent is giving them, which is not doing them any favors. And Brommelmans is suggesting that this could sort of be a foreshadowing of what could turn into adult narcissism. I'm guessing you need that temperament on board. I think if you had a sweet-tempered kid, that constantly being told that they're special actually might leave the sweet-tempered kid feeling a little bit guilty, actually. But the kid with that more vulnerable temperament, they might buy into the hype. So you sort of have this one pathway of adversity. You have the one pathway of sort of, these are kids who are told, you're great, you can have anything you want, we'll do anything you want, let's go on this vacation, here's this device. But they're also kids that are often very emotionally undernourished. Their emotions are not valued, they're not reflected, they're not mirrored. So these are kids who are get, but it's a very tenuous existence because they're still not in touch with their emotional world, which has to happen in childhood. Otherwise, you don't get that atlas of your own emotions, right? So those tend to be the two primary pathways. Now, not every kid who goes through those pathways will become narcissistic. In fact, the vast majority will not. So I think that it's very complicated, and what we call it's multi-determined. It's a very multi-determined series of pathways to what leads to adult narcissism. And because of that, I always say narcissism is one of those stories we can always tell backwards, but it's really difficult to tell forwards. Don't show me your 17-year-old who has a lot of attitude and won't empty the dishwasher and calls you names, and don't ask me if he's narcissistic. I usually tell those parents, call me in 10 years. And in 10 years, you're going to see if this tracked or he pops out of it like every adolescent who's trying to kind of individuate from his parents and